Hello and welcome to a special Daily Expresso, where we'll be putting the Prime Minister under the harsh spotlight. There's been plenty of headline promises from Keir Starmer on taxes, immigration, energy bills, but not many straight answers, and along with plenty of his pivots and more than a few broken promises from the Labour Party. Our guests have had plenty to say about Starmer's tenure, so buckle up for some of the best moments.
So this Labour government is the most deceitful government ever. It lied to get into power. Remember, in its manifesto, it didn't say that it was going to have a digital ID. It didn't say that it was going to remove jury services. And it also did say that it wasn't going to tax working people, right? And now it's in office. It's lying. Just think of the budget, that black hole that didn't exist. It was in surplus. And the problem, it's going to lie to remain in power. It's going to lie to the public. And what have we seen it doing today? It's lying about why it's moving those 4 mayoral elections. It is stopping democracy in its tracks. And I'd say I wouldn't put anything past this Labour government.
And there's even been a lot of lying by omission. So if you think back to the winter fuel payments with pensioners, some of those people voted Labour for the first time. There was no mention of cutting winter fuel payments in the manifesto. That's what they did. They betrayed farmers. Inheritance tax, Steve Reid, the then or former Environment Secretary, had said we're not going to heap inheritance tax on farmers, and that's exactly what they did.
Absolutely right. I know I put out a leaflet in my constituency. There'll be tax on tax on tax, whether it's investments, whether it's pensions, whether it's houses, whether it's your car, it will be taxed. If you remember, Rishi Sunak said that before the election and he was closed down. And Rishi Sunak said it when he replied to Rachel Reeves' first budget, and she absolutely called him a liar and sort of blistering attacks. So you're right, they would say anything to remain in power. So I think what we've got, and you touched on it a bit there, Steph, the mood in Parliament amongst Labour MPs, because they too think they've been lied to, some of them, because there are different tribes, and they too felt they've lied to their constituents. And this week it was the budget debate, it was the budget vote, but a lot of focus was on one vote in particular, and that was that farmers' tax. And you will see that 84 Labour MPs stayed away from Parliament, because that's what they're doing now. They're feeling crushed, they're feeling demoted, and they're sort of staying away. So 84 Labour MPs stayed away. We think it was 30 to 40 who abstained deliberately on that farming tax. But only one out of all of them, that was Marcus Campbell, Saviours, voted against, and he's now lost the whip. But he was the only one out of all of them. And I'd say a lot of these new Labour MPs, they're all mouth, no trousers. And that's why you'll see this coup, this removal of Reeves and Starmer didn't really happen. And like I said, they feel crushed. They're feeling sort of demotivated. They know they are toast. They know they're not going to win the next election. So now they're worrying, do we destabilise the top? Because we might be out of a job even quicker.
Well, and that's the thing. A lot of Labour MPs are going to want to keep their seats. It's a good job. So where do you think the next opportunity will come for them to attack?
OK, so I've spoken to Labour MPs about this. They know they've missed this opportunity now. Where Streeting also was put back in his box. He also was trying to do a leadership coup. The anti-Burnham one, well, he couldn't really because he wasn't in the House, but he still was out there touting himself, as it were. The next one,
I think an MP was prepared to step down.
There was, but that was also going to be very difficult. There was a couple, actually. So there was Clive Lewis and there was somebody else who said they might do, and they didn't name themselves. But it'd be very difficult in this climate to win a by-election. So they all think their next chance. And I think that's why they've let this one slip. And that's why I'd said it was a 50% chance before Christmas, depending on how bad the budget was. The budget was so awful. We got distracted, didn't we, by the OBR and what went on and the dilemma since there. But they say it's going to be at the local elections, and they're going to do it after that when they are so bad. Logic would say, why wouldn't you do it before the local elections so they're not so bad? But that's where the mood of the Labour MPs, they almost see that it's going to happen. And it's like watching a sort of a train crash, and they're not getting in there and changing. I wouldn't say, oh, we know it's going to be so bad, oh, let's wait till after that. I would say, get in before
Yeah.
and try and stop it. But what I will say, Starmer and Reeves are normalising lying now.
Look, never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake, JJ. I think Napoleon said that. So, Keir's attempt to weaponise the word racist against the British people is just going to backfire. It backfired on Hillary Clinton back in 2016 when she called half of Trump's voters deplorables, and look what happened to her. And the audacity of Keir Starmer and Labour accusing Reform of being racist when it is their identity politics that created the hierarchy of victimhood based on race, which, sucked for thousands of white working class girls in Rotherham and Rochdale and the like. They created the DEI, diversity, equity and inclusion, which literally says to people of colour and women, you don't have what it takes to get to the top by your own. We need to sneak you in the back door. Whereas we believe whatever race, whatever sex you are, you can be as bright and brilliant as each other, And it is the left that constantly runs the narrative of anti-white majority. So if the countryside, is racist just because the majority of whites live there, you've listened to Humza Yousaf's speech in Scotland, I presume, about white people in pubs. Everything is negatively connected to majority white people, and that's all coming from the left. So Reform's policy has nothing to do with race, JJ. So if he wants to pick a fight over it, he has no authority to talk about racism, and it will be like a wet noodle against a boxing glove of Nigel Farage.
Actually, what Boris and Nigel both had is they were positive and they had a sense of sunniness, even when they were sort of coming out, regardless of rhetoric. And I'm afraid for Starmer, he just comes around like he's disapproving of everything all the time. And it's not great. If you're gonna reach out to people, do it with a smile, for God's sake. Yeah. And he now says, "I love this country." Nobody believes him. Nobody. He spent a career as a human rights lawyer, taking on as clients, like his mate Herma, pretty much anyone who's got a grievance against this country. Nobody buys that a left-wing sub-Marxist human rights lawyer who's just given away strategic bases like the Chagos. No, he didn't give them away. He paid to give them away. Is a patriot. Look. I mean, dear old Emily Thornberry, the way that she was sort of moaning about people and St George's flags a few years ago, that is absolutely stuck. This is a party that doesn't like the people of this country. They like the country in theory, they just don't like it. And that's just the problem with socialists. They love the people and they want to act for the people and sort of solve great sort of social justice issues for the people, but actually meeting individual people.
A new Ipsos poll puts the Reform UK leader ahead of Starmer, 33% to 30%, marking Farage's first lead in the pollster's history. Carl, what do you make of this? A massive turning point in British politics?
Yeah, I think it is. But I don't know why anybody would be surprised. I think Starmer would think that it said he'd make a better Prime Minister than the poll said Farage would make a better Prime Minister than Starmer. And I think Starmer even thinks that. He's constantly talking about Farage. It's like he lives rent-free inside his head. Every time Starmer makes a speech, he mentions Farage in that speech, which is quite funny, I think, considering that the Reform Party has 5 MPs in Parliament, just 5 MPs. And yet Starmer and his party are terrified of Farage. And it's interesting because I've talked to a lot of people about this today already, and it's people saying, well, why would they? And to me it's like really simple. Farage does human, Starmer does robot, and Starmer has no personal appeal. He can't relate to people, he can't connect with people. There's that old cliche, isn't there, about which politician would you like to go down to the pub with and have a pint? And Farage is that man. But I think more seriously about it, him and Reform have become the party of the working classes because Labour has let the working classes down so badly. And Reform has slipped into that gap. Yeah. And it is astonishing that parties to the right are serving the working classes now as opposed to parties of the left. But I think we need a revolution in politics. And I know we're going to talk about Liz Truss in a minute. She talked about that yesterday with you. Farage is not going to be as good as we would like him to be, probably, but he has to be better than Starmer in this Labour Party. But I don't care. I just want a shake-up because the Tories aren't fit to govern. The rest of them aren't either. So I want to see what Reform can do. And I think a lot of people look to Farage because A, he connects with them, B, he understands the things that bother them. He doesn't live in this ideological bubble that Labour seems to. He's a man of, I think, of huge personality, and people relate to that. And I think when he says he's going to get foreign criminals deported, he will. I think when he says we're going to leave the ECHR, we will. I may be wrong, but I think we need a Farage now in the same way. And I think a lot of people, just so I did a show earlier today where people were ringing in lifelong Labour voters who will never vote Labour again. Never, because of what Starmer has done or not done in the past 14 months. And they are looking to Farage as their saviour.
Where's United Kingdom? Where's Russia? Come here. Is everything going good? Very good. It's very nice that you're here. These people all came in like 20-minute notice, and I think it's fantastic. And we have so many others, and just so many others. And it's such a compliment to what we're doing, because what we've done is something very unique and very special. So,
absolutely cringeworthy, wasn't it? It's so embarrassing. I actually feel bad for Starmer there. He kind of, that's very good. And then he just kind of shuffles back into line.
It was pretty awkward watching, wasn't it? I mean, it reminded me of one of those contestants on Bake Off, that sort of had felt as though they'd been called up with, the best, cheesecake that ever been made, and sort of was expecting to sort of win, I don't know, a badge for it, Baker of the Week. And then Mary Berry turns around and says, William, you've got a soggy bottom, and you can get sent to the back of the class, in shame. The way he shuffled in, or marched in and then shuffled out. It wasn't great to see, but, but all of that was put on, by the way. I'm pretty sure, Trump knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that the UK Prime Minister was there.
Do you think Trump did that deliberately?
Totally.
Why would he want to embarrass Starmer like that?
Well, because Starmer, Macron, Carney in Canada had all given Palestine their status, a statehood status, before I think Donald Trump wanted them to. So they were sort of pushing their own agenda, sort of jumping the gun, all the while Donald Trump was, in control of the negotiations, in control of this great peace summit. And I think he was a bit annoyed that all of a sudden all these people have come out of the woodwork to back his plan, back his goals, because he's got the breakthrough. And I think it was just a way of sort of showing them up a little bit to say, it's so lovely to see you. Only 20 minutes to spare. They've just turned up. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I think it was a backhanded sort of way of just saying, you're welcome to join my team because, I've done the right thing and you were.
I think Keir Starmer, the idea that Keir Starmer is really going to be able to turn things around, I think is fanciful, really. Oh. I think when you are this unpopular, this soon into a government, there really is no way back.
Yeah.
But, we have got a long way to go. Anything could happen. When Boris Johnson was elected, we expected him to be in for 10 years. And then look what happened. We had another 2 prime ministers before the next election. So,
do you think Keir Starmer deserves some credit now?
Well, I'll believe it when I see it, I think is the most important thing. I think we've learned, if anything, Keir Starmer's very good at giving the rhetoric. That actually, when it comes to delivering in government, I think it's turned out to be a very different set of affairs overall. So
it's been barely a year.
It may be barely a year, but he came in promising change, making big outlandish promises that he himself was saying things like cutting energy bills by £300, yet they're up, I think, around 180, saying that he was going to smash the gangs, yet we've got over 50,000 people on his watch coming over in a record 2025 when it comes to illegal migrants crossing the channel. He said he was going to fix the foundations of the economy. Now we're estimating up to a £50 billion black hole potentially for the Chancellor to fill, much bigger than the fictional 22 billion that Rachel Reeves and Sir Keir Starmer were using to talk Britain down early on in their term. So I think this is all of their own making, to be perfectly frank. And so I think that, as I say, the idea is good. I hope it comes to fruition. But the reality will be who's going to be placed in those barracks-like or tent-like accommodations. Are they detained or able to roam freely? And obviously, let's see, does it have a knock-on impact when it comes to illegal migration across the channel? I think the Prime Minister's onto something when he's now talking about that you won't have an automatic right to bring family over if you're granted refugee status. I think that will probably have a much bigger impact. Yeah. Initially out the gate, I think 21,000 people were able to bring family members over who've illegally crossed the channel. So let's see how that goes. But again, the rhetoric's all fine. The delivery's not followed the words, and the public are deeply distrustful of Sir Keir Starmer.